How's it going, everyone? Sir Douglas here with a brand new video, and today, Damonte Coxey put IDDQD on his phone before hitting the field and went into God mode. Defense forced 3 turnovers, kept Brady Oliveira in check, and somehow the 19-time reigning and defending Grey Cup champions, the Toronto Argonauts, still freaking lost. Upon sober review, Winnipeg 40, Toronto 31. How is it this team can find ways to lose in spectacular fashion? The offense was kind of 50-50 on the day. Defense was spectacular, but this week it was the unit that normally doesn't make the major mistakes, at least since the pandemic. Special teams. Load up the dinghy. Let's go ashore. This week, the Argos loaded up on linebackers. Both Derek Sluka and Jeremiah Ojo were on the one game this week. Jared Martin comes back in, and Jordan Herdman-Reed makes his Toronto debut. You may remember his brother Justin. He played for the Argos from 2017 to 2019. Yeah. However, notable on the other side, Chris Streveler was starting for the Bombers as Zach Collaros was out due to his a nagging neck injury that he suffered on the whiplash when he got that whiplash and slight concussion versus Calgary. So the Argos actually have a half decent chance. Argos had a half decent chance here. But when it came to the game summary, though, at the time of when I was watching it, it wasn't available yet. Like, the full replay wasn't available yet, so I just went through the highlights. But although certain things weren't on the highlights, so I had to go and do a tiny bit of research, but that's okay. Anyway, so out of the highlight package, when I said there was one thing that was missing, Sergio Castillo tried to get the Bombers on the board first, but guess what? First score of the game came from a Winnipeg pass. Chris Streveler he threw the ball, but it was batted down by Anthony Lanier. Got his big old meaty bear paw on it, but it went right into the waiting arms of the son of Kratos, Cameron Judge. He made no mistake. He just rumbled it right into the Winnipeg end zone for a pick six. Extra point was good. Toronto takes the early 7-0 lead, as what seems to be the pattern this season. Right on the next play, though, like, all that effort was for nothing. It was for nothing. Liram Hajrullahu kicked it off. It was Troy Vaval. Coverage looked like it was Roscoe Coltrane and Cletus and Enos back from the Dukes of Hazzard trying to stop the General Lee out there, as he shrugged off one tackle and he was gone. A kick six. So you had a pick six and then a kick six. What the hell, guys? Extra point good, all square at 7. Needs to be mentioned, though, that the ground game for the Argos in particular, we could have just left Laybourne and McMahon back in Toronto, because there was none. There was nothing there was literally nothing at all. But then again, I mean, Winnipeg you could have been going mass pass protect, but still, like, come on. There was absolutely zero ground game whatsoever. Like, you had, I think the final stat was something like 8 rushes for 5 yards or something stupid like that. Come on, realistically. Now, with regards to Winnipeg, they actually have one. Next score came from Chris Streveler, and he called his own number. Looks like he kind of greased himself up to get into the end zone, because Wynton McManus tried to haul him down, but he was able to wiggle free and slip loose. The extra point for Winnipeg was good, and it was a 14-7 lead. And now Winnipeg, they just said, you know what? Peace out, bitch! Gone. They didn't look back at all. Both teams traded field goals, and it became 17-10. And then what has happened this year for Toronto is at one point you will see something utterly disastrous. And here it comes. Second time in a matter of weeks this has happened. Nick Arbuckle sacked on the play, was stripped of the ball by Willie Jefferson, scooped up by Jay Person, and he rumbled it in. Scoop and score. Second man, like I said, second time in a matter of weeks. Last week it was Vaughters who got it last week, and now it's Jay Person this week. I'm beginning to think Nick Arbuckle is not paying for the O-line's meals or something. That's what I'm beginning to think. Anyway, extra point is good. Ford 24-10 lead for Winnipeg. Next drive, Argos do nothing. 2 and out. And then, oh boy. Then here comes the next one. Haggerty, our boy John Haggerty, back to punt. Punts it off. Troy Vavel again. And, yeah. I don't know, this, some people would call this some people would say, oh, that's the dagger that ended the game. No, this was more than the dagger. This was the sword that decapitated Ned Stark in season 1 of Game of Thrones. Troy Vavel again. Carbon copy of what he did on the kickoff return. 97-yard punt return touchdown. What the hell is this? What the hell? We go from a championship team to quote the water boy here, we go from a championship team to a bunch of dogs. 31-10 Winnipeg now. The Argos get the ball back, and Nick Arbuckle actually aired it out to Damonte Coxie. Really good pass and catch to get in the field goal range, but all that they got out of it is what seems to be what they're getting out of things this season, and that's just field goal after field goal. So Liram Hairolahu comes in 30, and at the half it's 31-13. The Argos, however, start the ball with the ball in the second half. Put together a fairly good drive. Nick Arbuckle under pressure again. Well, shocking, I know. Nearly stripped of the ball with Willie Jefferson again. Nonetheless, he was able to loft it like a basketball free throw to basketball free throw to Damonte Coxie. Scampered into the end zone, and the Argos are showing some signs of life here. Get a touchdown. Extra point was good, and it's a 31-20 lead. Next drive, Winnipeg does nothing. Andrew Chatfield sent Chris Streveler to the turf pretty hard on the second down. Argos' next possession was rather infuriating, to say the least. Two passes to get closest to the red zone, and then Nick Arbuckle, once again, under pressure. Shocking, I know. Launches a shot to the end zone. Arbuckle takes a lick on the play. Damonte Coxie was right there. Terrell Bonds practically clotheslined him as he was trying to make the catch. And Coxie, to his credit, nearly still came up with the ball despite it. However, you just see, right after that, penalty flags flying all over the place, like streamers after a touchdown at BMO Field. They were all over the place. Looks like penalty flags were coming from the stands too. So, yeah. So, needless to say, one call that the refs got right: defensive pass interference. Argos get the ball on the 1. This is the part that infuriated me. This right here was a part where I'm just going, "What the hell are you guys doing?" First and goal, run from shotgun. Do nothing. Second and goal, run from shotgun. Dropped for a loss. Third and goal, field goal good, 31-23. So as I watched that sequence of plays, this came into my head. Why in the name of all that is good and holy did we not run the most high percentage play in all of the CFL? Why did Jared Dagey not get in there and run a quarterback sneak for the touchdown? Why the fuck do we even have him on the roster if we aren't even going to use him? Play calling there didn't make any goddamn sense. I mean, we all know. I mean, everybody knows that quarterback sneaks are a very high percentage in the CFL. And for the most part, you're going to get it. We have a short yardage quarterback in Jared Dagey. Why the hell did we not use him? Anyway, Winnipeg gets the ball back, and they delivered a 49-yard field goal right after that, 34-23. Argos 2-and-out next drive. Winnipeg on the next one. And once again, it was defense showing up, but once again, trying to give the Argo offense every opportunity here. Streveler threw an interception on the day. Threw another one. He tried looking for Carrick Weekfall. Mark Milton swatted it down, and Benji Franklin was able to catch it before it hit the turf. Now, to me, this kind of looked like one like an Aussie Rules hand pass. That's what it looked like to me a little bit. Because if you don't know, in Aussie Rules, in order to use your hands to pass, you have to actually punch the ball. I know that's a little suggestive, but whatever. Punch the ball to your teammate, who can then run and do whatever he wants to do with it. That's what it looked like here, and it was, like I said, it was a really good play. Not gonna lie, it was a really good play. But what does the Argos offense do? Not a goddamn thing. Ended up getting a punt single to end the third quarter, 34-24. Fourth quarter now. Toronto's defense, once again, continued to shine. Winnipeg's next possession just ended with a field goal, making it 37-24. Toronto now going to start making Winnipeg's just, little tiny bead of sweat coming down their head. Nick Arbuckle on the run, just kind of lobbed the ball on the waiting basket arms at DeMonte Coxey again, and he could have moonwalked into the end zone. Extra point was good. 37-31 lead for Toronto. They're within one score here. A touchdown with the extra point gives them the lead. Considering where they were at halftime, it looked like they got the boot out. They finally got the lead out and are finally starting to show what they were capable of, because they're the friggin' champs. Anyway, then on the ensuing kickoff, we see a little bit of kick trickery coming from Liram Hajrullahu here. He puts a fair bit of English on the ball as he kicked it, and takes a weird hop. Winnipeg can't come up with it, but Toronto does. Toronto recovers the ball, so it was essentially a glorified onside kick, instantly in field goal range. But you kind of get, but I mean, if you've been around this team for a while, you kind of sense, especially if you're on the negative side of it, you kind of sense something bad was going to happen, and sure enough, it did. Nick Arbuckle had enough time, was back to pass, had enough time to read War and Peace in the back in the pocket, and he threw it to Tony Jones. It's supposed to be Dave Unger III, but I digress. After all of that, they give it away again. But to do my best Rod Black impression, or do they? Winnipeg on their drive come up short as Streveler tried to throw it into the end zone, and it's his third, and Tavares McFadden came up with it. A very nice catch by McFadden. It's Streveler's third interception on the day. Argos now, this right now, massive opportunity inside the 3-minute warning, inside 3 minutes to go. And what do they do with it? First down, swatted down. Second down, swatted down. Third down, incomplete pass, turnover on downs. Fuck my life. Winnipeg kills the clock, gets another field goal, 41-30. At this point, the rest of the game is inconsequential. So what can be said that hasn't already been said? The defense seems to be back on good form because they played excellent last week. The offense did show some signs of life. DeMonte Coxey going God mode helped. He got like over 170 yards receiving on the day. Like I said, 5 runs for 8 yards. That's not going to be good enough. That's not going to be good. You might as well just leave the running backs in the locker room or leave them back in Toronto and dress more linemen if you're going to telegraph that you're going to throw the ball all game. Then there's the special teams coverage, which has been unacceptable since the game against Saskatchewan, where they were chiefly responsible for ruining what could have been which was perhaps a massive comeback. We get one facet of the game 100% right, and then one of the other two slip. We end up getting a great offensive performance. Defense is going to shit the bed. Defense does great. 14 points surrendered on special teams. Special teams able to shine. Offense can't move the ball to save their lives. We're the fucking champs. Play like it for once. Now, I know there's going to be people out there that are now starting to push the panic button. Calling for Coach Dinwiddie to be fired. And Pinball to replace him on the bench. Hell, I even saw someone saying Pinball should be shown the door if he's not willing to pull the trigger on firing Coach Dinwiddie. Like, what are we? The mid-2010s Montreal Alouettes? Firing head coaches and offensive coordinators because of slumps? Also, if you fire Ryan Dinwiddie, which would be a complete and utter knee-jerk reaction at this point, who do you replace him with as offensive coordinator? Everyone seems to forget that he's got the dual role. And also, who on the staff is capable of being a head coach in the interim? I'll wait. While this game was definitely a misstep by the Argos, season isn't over yet. Winnipeg came back from a similar record at this point of the season last year to not only make the playoffs, but get the first round bye, win the West, and make it to the Grey Cup. To ultimately get their cheeks clapped by the Argos, but I digress. The importance of each game from here on out increases exponentially. Our next 6 opponents versus Ottawa coming up on Saturday afternoon, at Edmonton, versus BC for the CNE game, at Hamilton for the Labor Day Classic, versus Edmonton, versus Montreal. Each one of these games is going to be super important with playoff implications every single time. Like I said, it starts with Ottawa on Saturday afternoon. While the rest of the league may look at this game as Toilet Bowl 3, we need to look at it as if we're playing for our very survival. That's all I've got this week, folks. Just a heads up, I will be doing an away game live stream coming up. As I said, Toronto will be in Edmonton next Friday evening, I believe. So join me to get drunk and watch football. But we still got Ottawa first, so let's take care of business there first. So I'll be at the game as always. So instant reaction is going to come as always directly right after the game, and you'll see an Upon Sober review next week as well for that game. So I will. I'll see you on the field on Saturday afternoon. Cheers, everybody.